Good morning, everybody. Thanks very much for the invitation to come today and talk to you all. Fantastic turnout. I'm presuming there's a lot of rain outside, so we can't go down the beaches at the moment. So yeah, thanks for the invite to come and talk today. I'll give an overview on the visitor economy. Specifically, I'll talk about some of our challenges that we've had in recent years. I'll then go on to talk about the recovery plan that we're working on with all the local authorities, the DMOs and New Anglia LEP. But it is very fast moving at the moment. So what I've also done is add in some details from Visit Britain activity that I hope will be of interest to this audience. Okay, so just a quick overview on us. Who are we? We were Visit East Anglia. We were set up in 2012 when the regional development agencies were abolished. It's a private sector business set up by various visitor attractions and other hospitality businesses in the east of England. At the time, it wasn't really representing the region at a national level. It was very much about looking after the contracts to run Visit Norfolk and Visit Suffolk, since we've been doing since 2012. As I say, we work with all the DMOs in the two counties and the local authorities. But I'll explain in a few minutes about why we've changed to Visit East of England. But suffice to say that we are actually now the visitor economy sector group for New Anglia LEP. So we're making progress. In terms of tourism itself, combined value in the two counties, £5.4 billion. Now, Norfolk alone is 3.3 billion. And you might be surprised to know that Cornwall's is actually around about 2 billion. So Norfolk's visitor economy far exceeds that of Cornwall. Across the four counties, including Essex and Cambridgeshire, it's actually £10 billion a year. And that's larger than Yorkshire with its very large cities and 2 national parks. So it's the largest industry sector here in the east of England, and it's the largest employer across the 4 counties. It employs around about 250,000 people. And in terms of its importance, Graham touched upon it a little while ago. If you think about somewhere like Great Yarmouth, that is the visitor economy there is 40% of all employment. Okay, so hugely important sector to the east of England. In terms of our challenges, this is really what we've been working on the last couple of years. So there's a poor perception of the industry that it's low paid, low skilled and seasonal. I mean, like it or not, I mean, that is just the perception. People tend to think of it as something they'll do before they get themselves a proper job, or waiting on tables and that kind of thing. It's a perception issue that we have, and we really desperately need to change that narrative. In terms of productivity, well, clearly today with digital innovation, that's what we're about here. We're looking to creative ideas to improve productivity. And of course, what we want to do is have a year-round visitor economy. A lot of my colleagues in the past have said, well, we're 12 weeks of the year. No, we're not. We're 12 months of the year. And we need to stop talking about the season, because it should be 12 months of the year. And if I'm honest, we need to be talking not so much about tourism, but about the visitor economy, because that's what this is all about. It's about employment, it's about building businesses, it's about wealth creation, it's about innovation. In terms of the database that we operate, we inherited that when the East of England Tourism Board, as I went pop in 2012, and that was constantly being updated by tourism information centres. They were very much our eyes and ears on the ground, and sadly, many of those have closed over the years. So a big challenge for us is creating a new database that is relevant and fit for purpose. In terms of the sector can't communicate with itself, well, if we don't have a database of businesses, clearly we can't communicate with them, they can't communicate with us. This is a really interesting one for us, and I'm sure Adrian will he won't touch upon it. This will be very much what he'll be talking about later. It's a real bugbear with us, a real bone of contention that online travel agents, the OTAs, the booking.coms of this world, they're the biggest advertisers on Google, and frankly, they hoover up money and they take it not just out of our local economy, but out of our national economy as well. So they were the disruptors, and I think working with Adrian, as we'll explain a little later, and others, we hope to disrupt them a little bit back. Region isn't top of mind with Visit Britain, and I touched upon that a little while ago. We went off the radar a few years ago, as I said, when the East of England Tourism Board, the demise of that, and we really didn't engage at a national level. So again, I'll come back to that in a second. We're not top of mind with consumers, despite the fact that tourism industry, the visitor economy, is worth over £5 billion here in Norfolk and Suffolk, 10 billion across the region. We're not top of mind with consumers. Cornwall, Devon, Dorset, the Lakes, the Peaks, Wales, Scotland, you could go on and on and on. We're not top of mind, and yet it's worth over £5 billion a year. So if we were top of mind, just imagine what we could do. And in terms of working together, as I said, well, what's the alternative, particularly in the current situation? We're watching other regions get ahead of us. Well, we can't let that continue. And the only way that we will earn our fair share at the national level is by working together. Okay, have I forgotten any challenges? Yes. Tourism was buoyant here in the East of England. To give you an example of that, since 2012, the visitor economy of Norfolk alone has gone up by 14%. Nationally across England, it's gone up 8%. So Norfolk was actually doing better than the rest of the country. Suffolk was on a par. Of course, since March 22nd, we've been pushing the message, now is not the time for tourism. There has been no tourism at all since March 22nd. I'm not going to dwell too much on the impact of COVID-19 on the industry. Graham has already suggested, that it's devastating at the moment. It could be catastrophic if it continues into the autumn. And that's one of the really important things about this, with us saying now is not the time for tourism. Clearly, we're now going to go through a transition period where people can travel again. We're looking forward to hopefully self-catering accommodation, broads cruises, serviced accommodation opening up soon. And obviously, we're hoping for that July 4th date of hospitality businesses opening. We had a bit of a bombshell on Friday with a conference call with Visit Britain when they suggested that the July 4th date is not set in stone. The government will actually review the data on June the 29th and then make a decision about whether hospitality businesses can open on July the 4th. Clearly, we cannot afford a second spike. If that happens and we go back into lockdown, there will be no tourism in 2020. And that's why it's very, very important that while we want to gradually bring back visitors to the East of England, clearly we don't want it to happen too quickly and risk a second outbreak and another lockdown. As I said, that would be absolutely catastrophic for the industry. So we have to be very, very clear about how we bring back tourism. In terms of sector skills, it's really, really important. Of course, digital innovation plays a large part in this. We're working with New Anglia and stakeholders. We have a skills plan in place. Clearly, a way of developing investment, upskilling and training is by having that year-round visitor economy. So as I said earlier, we want to rewrite the narrative. There are fantastic careers to be had in this sector. The lady in the bottom right is actually the Chief Operating Officer at Adnams, a lady called Karen Hester. She actually started at Adnams as a cleaner 20 years ago. She's now the Chief Operating Officer. Two photographs above her is a gentleman called Jake Fines. He's a conservation manager at Holcombe. You'll probably know his famous brothers and explorer uncle. And there is just a snapshot of some of the jobs that are available in this sector. As I said, it's not just waiting tables, albeit, of course, in France, that is a fantastic profession. But we want to bring youngsters through. We want to reintegrate maybe retired people, people who have maybe lost their jobs in this pandemic. So there's lots of opportunities to be had in this sector. in terms of touching some of those other challenges, we've now got a new Visit East of England website. We're offering free listings for every business on there. And the reason for that is, as I said earlier, if we have every tourism-related business and service on that database, we can talk to them, they can talk to us, we can then take our messages to a national level. I'm sure Adrian will talk about the next point in more detail later. We have a free booking mechanic with stay lists. So accommodation providers can come with us with a free booking mechanic. It works in real time. And the thing about what we're doing is we're only charging 10% commission for hotels, unlike the OTAs. As I said earlier, they hoover up money, they charge 15 to 30% commission, and they take that money out of the local economy. What we're saying is come with us, have your free booking mechanic with stay lists. We'll only charge 10% commission, but you know that 100% of the value of any booking stays within the local economy. What we're also doing is creating bookable itineraries. As I said, we're building the Skills Hub as part of the Skills Plan. And if you go on the website, you will find that there is a daily update from the tourism industry emergency response group and government talking about the latest measures from organisations ranging from the government itself to UK hospitality. As I said, we're not top of mind, so we've reinvented ourselves as Visit East of England. I got tired of seeing the usual suspects, Cornwall, Kent, the Lakes, etc., hoovering up money from government initiatives like the Discover England Fund. And when I approached Visit Britain, Visit England to talk about why we weren't being represented, they said, well, the thing is, Pete, we just get white noise out of your region. We have so many competing voices, we don't know who to talk to. So it was at that point that we realised, let's have a step change. Let's remove the Visit East Anglia, let's park that, reinvent ourselves as Visit East of England, set ourselves up as the sector group with the LEP, and create a much better working relationship with all the local authorities, the DMOs, so that we can take a collective voice to government. And I think we've done some really good work in the last year or so. We held a digital workshop for the destination marketing organisations in Bury St Edmunds late last year. That was one of only 3 that Visit England did in the whole country. So we were very lucky to get that, but we only got it because Visit Britain, Visit England can now see that we're working together here in the east of England. Sector deals and tourism zones, really, really important. I don't know if you remember last June, the government announced a sector deal for the visitor economy, and as part of that, they suggested that there may be 5 tourism zones across the country. Clearly, all our work at the moment is about bidding for a tourism zone here in the east of England. It would bring millions of pounds of investment from government, and it would give us an opportunity, as I say, to drive what is already a £5 billion industry even better. And clearly, there's going to be an economic impact of coronavirus. So tourism, having a tourism zone here in the east of England, it's going to be vitally important for us to progress in the future. As I said, I'll just touch upon a couple of things that Visit Britain are up to. They've got a consumer survey running. It started it's been published since June the 1st. It started mid-May. Worryingly, I won't run through these, but my last point here, in terms of 10 regions in the country, where do visitors, or where do people think that they will travel to? From now until September, and then from October onwards, of the top 10 regions, where do you think they all want to travel to? They want to go to the southwest. They want to go to the honeypots of Devon, Dorset, and Cornwall. Where is the east of England? On one of the categories, we're bottom, and on the other one, we're third from bottom. So again, a lot of work to do. Some of you may have heard about the Visit Britain industry standard. It's going to be called We're Good to Go, and it will be a self-assessment online questionnaire, and any business who passes that will be given or will be able to use the branding We're Good to Go. They're hoping that number 10 will sign that off this week, and then the DMOs and ourselves can start promoting that hopefully next week. Before that, Visit Britain will also be launching a Know Before You Go campaign, which we will be echoing as well. And what that's about is, before people travel, make sure you do your homework. If you're going to a visitor attraction, go on their website, make sure that one, it's open, but also is online booking with managed timetables so that the businesses can manage their footfall effectively. So we'll be very much supporting that, and likewise we'll be cascading all this information out as we get it. Again, it comes back to this working together as a region. The coronavirus pandemic is devastating for the industry here in the east of England, but only by working together can we see ourselves through that. And as part of that, we recently did a tourism business survey. 776 businesses responded to that. We got some really very, very good data in terms of what we needed to do, but also in terms of a lobbying tool that we've taken to BAYS, to DCMS and other government organisations. We've been lobbying the tourism minister and our own MPs as well. And I'm glad to say that the work that we've been doing, working with all our stakeholders and also many other tourism organisations and bodies around the country, a lot of that lobbying work has succeeded. In terms of the recovery plan, clearly what we're trying to do is create an umbrella framework that all stakeholders can work under, because all the districts have their own individual needs and issues. For instance, obviously seasonal tourism in Great Yarmouth with the visitor attractions on the seafront, self-catering accommodation, I'm generalising here, in North Norfolk on the Suffolk coast, clearly retail in places like Norwich, Ipswich, Bury St Edmunds. So everyone has their own issues, but the important thing is that recovery plan, as I say, creates an umbrella that we can all work within, share ideas, share initiatives, come up with best practices that we can work together on, and then, as I said, that will lead to later a bid to become a tourism zone here. Something we're working on at the moment is Unexplored England that we'll do across Norfolk and Suffolk. It will be a companion piece to the tourism recovery plan. It's very much a reassurance campaign. It's about inviting visitors back here to the region when it is safe for them to visit, when it's safe for residents, and when it's safe for businesses and their staff. As I said, if we get a second spike, then we're done for tourism this year. That's the last thing that we want. It will be a staged approach. So we're talking about 3 stages here. Early recovery, so what we'll be saying to potential visitors is plan your visit, look at all the great things that we have to offer here. Then working on reassurance, so travel only when it's safe. And then the really important thing is start building demand for later year and 2020. So just coming to a conclusion, I do genuinely believe that there's a massive opportunity for us. As I say, it's devastating what's happened. Tourism industry was doing incredibly well before this, and we will do well again coming out of it. As I said, if we work collectively, if we work with you guys for digital innovation, you know, necessity is the mother of invention, and boy, do we need that now. We need innovation, we need creativity. So I look forward to seeing what comes out of this morning, and I look very much forward to working with you in the future.